and the volume behind it is real. Unitree's own clarification statement says it sold and delivered more than 5,500 humanoid robots to end customers in 2025, out of total output above 6,500 units, excluding wheeled models. Its IPO prospectus claims 32.4% of global humanoid shipments in 2025, first in the world, with revenue of about 1.7 billion yuan, roughly $250 million, up 335% year-over-year, and profit above $40 million. Now, the scoreboard. SCMP reports that Unitree's 5,500-plus shipments beat Tesla, Figure AI, and Agility Robotics, which it estimates shipped roughly 150 humanoid robots each in 2025. That 150 is SCMP's estimate, not a company disclosure. Zoom out, and the pattern holds. Research firm Omdia found that Chinese companies took nearly 90% of global humanoid sales in 2025, and all 6 top manufacturers by shipment volume were Chinese. Fortune reported in June 2026 that China builds roughly 85% of the world's humanoids, that about 13,000 shipped worldwide last year, and that Chinese robots average more than 20% cheaper than foreign models, helped by localized parts, subsidies, and domestic actuator supply chains. Wall Street has repriced accordingly. Morgan Stanley raised its 2026 China humanoid shipment forecast twice this year, from 14,000 units in January to 28,000, then doubled it again to 50,000 in June, per CNBC. It projects 446,000 units a year by 2030, a market growing from $2 billion now to $15 billion by 2030, and average humanoid prices falling from about $46,000 to $21,000 by 2050. Analyst Xingxing credits commercial verification, policy support, and supply chain feedback. And the money followed the Mecha. Unitree filed its Shanghai prospectus on March 20th. On July 2nd, China's securities regulator approved a roughly $618 million IPO at a listing valuation of at least 42 billion yuan, about $6.2 billion, per Caixin and SCMP. So where is the American Mecha? There is not one. The closest U.S. analog was Megabot's Eagle Prime, a 12-ton, V8-powered tracked machine. Megabots pivoted away from building robots, and Eagle Prime now performs monster truck-style shows in the Pacific Northwest. Japan's Tsubame Industries unveiled the Archax in 2023, 4.5 meters tall, around $3 million, a planned run of 5 units, and it rolls on wheels rather than walking. The GD01 walks, transforms, and costs roughly a fifth as much. American humanoid programs, Tesla Optimus, Figure, Agility, Boston Dynamics are chasing autonomous robots, not piloted ones, and per SCMP they shipped on the order of 150 units each last year. Read the machine the way analysts on both sides read it. Wang of the Beijing Academy of Social Sciences credits years of industrial chain accumulation. Fortune's June 2026 verdict is blunter. Most Chinese humanoids are still performative rather than functional, and venture investor Chibotang notes they remain expensive to produce, fragile in operation, and dependent on highly structured environments. Both reads agree on the core point. The Mecha is a billboard. The message is that China's robotics supply chain is now cheap enough and mature enough to offer a half-ton piloted walking machine as a catalog item ahead of an IPO, in a year when the entire American industry shipped a few hundred humanoids. If you buy automation for a business, 3 takeaways. Hardware is becoming the cheap, fast depreciating layer, so avoid long hardware lock-ins at today's prices. On this curve, waiting 12 to 24 months has routinely halved the cost or doubled the capability. Buy outcomes and capability rather than machines, and budget the real money for integration, software maturity, and support. And before buying Chinese-made gear, pilot on one narrow, structured task, then vet security because researchers documented a Bluetooth exploit chain called Unipun in Unitree's own robot lines per IEE Spectrum. If you want this race tracked for you, subscribe. This channel ships a quarterly robot update that puts every shipment number, price cut, and forecast revision in one place, and the next one lands when the third quarter numbers due. And if you want to see what these machines can already do with nobody in the cockpit, watch our video on the autonomous robots leading this race. It is on your screen now. On May 12, 2026, Unitree put a piloted Mecha in its product catalog for 3.9 million yuan. Xinhua quotes that at $650,000, and the company classifies the GD01, a machine that stands about 8 feet 10 and weighs roughly 1,100 pounds with the pilot on board, as a civilian vehicle. This is not a gadget review. It is an industrial strategy story, and by the end you will see why its most important number is 150. Here is what actually happened. On May 12th, Unitree posted a 1-minute video to its Weibo account and to X announcing the GD01, billed as the world's first mass-produced manned Mecha. In the clip, founder and CEO Wang Xingxing climbs into a cockpit built into the machine's torso, straps in, and pilots it himself across a workshop floor. That detail matters. The chief executive of a company weeks away from an IPO approval strapped himself into the prototype. The demo runs in 3 beats. The machine walks forward on 2 legs at a moderate walking pace. It knocks down a brick wall with its hand. And be precise here, because outlets describe that moment differently. The South China Morning Post says it knocked over a brick wall. Xinhua says it smashed a pile of bricks. New Atlas adds that the demo walls looked hastily built, so a wall went down on camera, but do not picture load-bearing masonry. Then the machine leans back, folds its legs, and transforms into a 4-legged crawl configuration within seconds, continuing over uneven ground. The confirmed numbers, per Global Times and the South China Morning Post, about 2.7 meters tall, roughly 500 kilograms, and that figure includes the pilot, a high-strength alloy frame, and 2 locomotion modes, bipedal walk and quadrupedal crawl. Unitree pitches it at high risk and harsh environments, naming industrial operations, emergency rescue, and cultural tourism, per Global Times and CNEV Post. The company also issued a safety notice against hazardous modifications and cautioned, as reported by Interesting Engineering, that humanoid robotics remains in an early experimental stage with functional limitations. Now, the part the launch video does not show. Start with the price, because even that is softer than the headline. The hard number is 3.9 million yuan. Convert at market rates, and SCMP gets about $574,000. Xinhua's English report and Global Times quote $650,000 as a preliminary reference price, and Global Times reports marketing staff saying the final figure may still be adjusted depending on performance optimization. So anchor on the yuan. The 650 is a state media reference, not a checkout price. Then count what Unitree has not disclosed: battery capacity and runtime, top speed, operating range, payload per limb, degrees of freedom, actuator design, even the cockpit controls. CNEV Post states plainly that Unitree did not disclose further details about the product. For a machine a human sits inside, that is a thin spec sheet. New Atlas flagged prototype tells in a hands-off review: no visible dashboard in the cockpit, exposed wiring, scratched paint, and a conclusion that the GD01 needs substantial work despite the premium price. The mass production claim deserves the same hedge. Unitree bills it as mass production ready. Global Times reports that large-scale production capability exists, but says further optimization and cost reduction will take time, and no independent outlet has confirmed an active production line, a volume figure, or a single delivery. Which brings us to the strangest phrase in the announcement. Unitree formally describes the GD01 as a transformable civilian vehicle for rough terrain transport, exploration, and rescue, and Xinhua, China's state news agency, echoes that classification, but no source specifies what license applies, how registration works, or where the machine may legally operate. The category barely exists. Xinhua, a vice president at the Technology and Strategy Research Institute, told Global Times that China has crossed a key engineering threshold in embodied AI, then listed the weaknesses in the same breath: accessibility, battery concerns, pilot comfort, and regulatory uncertainty. Sales are China only for now, with no announced pathway to the United States or Europe. One reported analysis from the tech outlet Glitchwire, not from any regulator, notes that the European Union's updated machinery regulation takes full effect in 2027 and would impose strict safety requirements on any manned robot used commercially. And the buyers that analysts quoted by Global Times consider realistic are theme parks, immersive entertainment, film production, and rescue operators, not consumers. Hold that thought, because in a few minutes I will put the numbers underneath this machine on screen. What a humanoid cost in 2023, what it costs today, and where Morgan Stanley says the price goes by 2050. If you buy automation for a business, that curve matters more than the Mecha, and it should change how you sign contracts this year. First, to understand why Unitree can even attempt a Mecha, walk its price ladder. In 2023, the company's H1 humanoid cost $90,000. In May 2024, the G1 launched at $16,000 per IEE Spectrum. In July 2025 came the R1 at $5,900. Bloomberg's headline called it a humanoid robot costing less than $6,000. It is 1.22 meters tall, 25 kilograms, has 26 degrees of freedom, can run and cartwheel, and Time named it to its best inventions of 2025. In November 2025, the full-size H2 landed at $29,900 base per e-week and Unitree's own shop. So in about 2 years, the entry price of a Unitree humanoid fell from $90,000 to $5,900, a 15-fold drop. The GD01 sits on top of that same supply chain.